Hey guys, Tim from SeekBeak here. We have been in crunch time for a couple months working on this new thing, and I wanted to give you a bit of a sneak peek of what was coming up. Be warned, this is all, pre-beta stuff, so lots can change, lots will change. However, we do plan on making a public beta very shortly to get you guys playing with it and having some fun with it. So let's see what I'm talking about. It's almost an entirely new platform, to be honest. So let's go take a look at what that is. There's going to be a new section here called Overlays. I'm going to go into the Overlay Designer now, into Mountain Tour Overlay, which I created earlier, and it's a blank slate. This is the Overlay Designer here, and I'm not going to go into too much detail as far as all the new stuff. There's going to be plenty of documentation and tutorial videos and whatnot after the fact, so I'm just going to kind of skim through just to give you an idea. So I'm going to create what we call a new node, and I'm going to create a container node. And a container node shows up like this, and I can drag it around and resize it and dock it and do all sorts of things with it. I have a whole whack of properties that I can play with to customize it however I see fit. However, right now what I want to do is I want to, let's change the color of it. We'll change the background color, and we'll make it kind of like a translucent gray. Kind of dark because I want to put some white text in here. So, yep, we'll leave it at that. And then what I'm going to do is I could do some rounded corners on it. Yeah, why not? Let's do, we'll try 8 pixels on the rounded corners, which looks like that. Maybe we'll shrink them down a little bit. Make it kind of like this. So, it's almost, we're going to kind of make it look like the existing one, just for show. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a border to it, and we can make that maybe even a darker border, and I'll set it to 2 pixels. What does that look like? Great. That looks kind of sharp. Nice and utilitarian, just the way I like it. Okay, so now the next thing we need is some text in here. So I'm going to create another node. I'm going to make sure I have the container selected when I do that, and you'll see now that this changes and says, hey, any node you insert is going to be inserted in the container because, well, that's what containers do. They contain things. So I'm going to insert a rich text node, which shows up as this. If I double click it, I get a whole rich text editor at my disposal. And I can type in something like, welcome to my snap. Okay, and so right now you're thinking, hey, this looks terrible, and you would be correct. You'll notice that I can also kind of position it anywhere in the container, and as I move the container around, this moves with it. So there's a whole parent-child relationship which you can play with. In here, we've got a whole tree view where you can hide and show and lock and delete and reorder and rename and do all sorts of fun stuff with. Again, later on in the tutorials, we will go over all that stuff. So right now, I'm just going to tidy this up. I'm going to make this, let's say, first I got to change the background color because I don't want this gray. I want it to have a transparent background color. So I can go here and I can just nuke the background color. And then I might make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to double click that. I'm going to select the text and I'm going to change the text color to white. And then I'm going to make it a bit, maybe even bold like that. Welcome to my snap. You'll notice there's a border on it. So I can just go here and I can turn off that border. Clink, just like that. So now we have this thing, which is kind of not centered. This isn't centered. It's a little bit all over the place. Well, that brings me to this next part where we have a whole child layout system in the containers where you can automatically set a row and column layout where it will give you all sorts of alignment and distribution options for any children that are in here. So if you're making your own menus, you can put buttons in there and they'll automatically all adjust themselves in size and make your life generally easier. Now you'll see that I still have the ability to adjust this, and it's not getting locked into the child arrangement or alignment thing that I had just set on this one. So what I can do is there's a whole host of options in here. Now this detects that it's a child of something, and so there's a whole whack of options in there you can change. However, we're putting in some convenience methods as well to try and make things a little easier for everybody. So what I can do is I can say, hey, I don't want this to be able to set its own position. What I want is I want the parent to be able to set the position of it. So sure enough, there. So now the parent is in control of this text. So you can see that it sets it to one whole row using the height of it. If I wanted, I could set that to a column. and now it takes up a column. If I was to add some other components in there, let's say I add in, I don't know, an image, right? You can see that they automatically adjust into these nice rows and columns. However, I don't really want those guys, so I'm just going to press delete on my keyboard. Did I mention we have keyboard shortcuts? And I'm going to go back and set this to rows. Okay, and I'm going to want to center this. There we go. And the text, as you'll see, takes up the whole row. So in order to center that text, I can just double click to get into the rich text editor. And like any other text editor, click center. Great. Okay, so this thing I'm realizing is a bit too big. So I'll go like this and I'll shrink it down. Maybe we can go like that. And then I'm going to center it. So I'm going to go and pop open the snapping tools here, and you can see that it snaps to the center. It also, the blue lines will snap to any edges as well. So there's multiple ways you can do that. And if you're moving child components inside a container, the container will also have centering guidelines for you as well, just to make your life easier. So now this does not look even. There we go. I'm going to make this, ooh, you know what I'll do is I'm going to go into the dimensions. I will make this 100% high. Okay, and this is now telling me, hey, horizontal sizing is being controlled by the parent layout settings. So we're trying to put in these little helpful dialog boxes to help everybody out, because there is a ton of things that you can do with this. So what I will do is I'm going to turn that and that off, and I will just let the parent do everything. And now it's nice and tidy and centered. So now if I save this and I go into my groups, there's multiple ways to do this, but I can say, okay, we'll set all snaps in this group to use my mountain tour overlay. Great. Go into my bottom of the stairs snap, and sure enough, here is our title, right? And it's going to stay there forever and ever and ever, because we didn't set anything as far as animations or how we want it to work or anything like that. So let me introduce you to the whole new concept, which eventually is going to get rolled out to all sorts of things, including the old style hotspots. And we call these new things actions. So I'm going to create a new action. I'm going to make sure I have the container selected. I'll say, okay, container, when the snap loads, I want you to disappear. Okay, so that's the no visibility type. And I'm going to say, okay, well, I want you to hide, basically, when the snap loads. And I can set delay. I can say, okay, how about 3 seconds after you load, I want you to hide. Now, actions can control all sorts of things, which you can specify using this target here. So I'll say, okay, well, my target is container. So when the snap loads, it's going to change the visibility to hide it, and it's going to hide that container. So now, when I go into my snap, it turns on. 1, 2, 3, boom, gone. Just like that, okay? And now, if I go here, 1, 2, 3, boom, it's gone again. So that's cool. It's a bit janky though, because it just kind of, pops in, pops out. So let me introduce you to a whole other new section now called animations, which you can assign to your actions. So I'm going to create an animation attached to my action. And by default, it just creates an opacity one. And I will probably do, let's do a move one. And I'll say, okay, half a second. And every time this fires, I want it to restart. So if I move it, let's say off screen, and I move it, let's say to the right, every time I re-trigger this animation, I want it to move from where it is over to the right. This is going to wait 3 seconds and then fire the animation. So now instead of having to go click back and see what it looks like in my image, I can just click this and it will open up basically a previewing area, which will show you exactly what would happen when you're using it in a real snap. So you can just kind of flick back and forth at any time. You don't have to keep going back and forth and loading your snaps and whatnot. So that's very handy. Okay, so now, yes, it disappears every time. However, the one gotcha is that you'll notice that the action is delayed by 3 seconds, and then the animation kicks in. So what's going to happen is the first snap is going to whoop, it's going to whip off screen. Then we go to the next snap. It's going to wait 3 seconds before it fires the animation again, which we don't want. We want the animation to fire right away, but we want the animation to have a delay on it. So again, this might seem a little bit confusing, but we're going to have the videos, the proper videos will show you all this. So I'm going to change the delay of the actual action to 0, but I'm going to delay the animation. So the animation is going to restart everything, and then delay by 3 seconds until it actually does its thing. So now if we go to my snap here, you'll see it pops open and then whoosh, wishes off screen. If I go to the top of the stairs, poof, pops open. After 3 seconds, ba-bam, whooshes off screen again, just like that. I'll just show you one. For example, the embed. Okay, so let's say, well, I had the container selected. I'll delete that. I just want to insert an embed here. Okay, so let's say I get a YouTube video and I have this one open in another tab here. So I can go here and I can click share, get the iframe code for that. I can copy that, go back to SeekBeak, and then go to the properties for this embed. And you'll see here there's an embed details, and I can just pop the embed in there. And you can optionally try and make it autoplay or not. And oh, look at that. We've got this beautiful YouTube video. And you'll see that YouTube doesn't like to get any smaller than that. That's as small as YouTube lets it embed. And so we can place that anywhere. And what we could do is, let's say we want to have this video here, but we kind of just want to have a close button as well. Or maybe a permanent button. Let's do that. So what I'll do is I'm going to go into this area down here, which is now a new team files area we are also introducing, where you can upload your own PNGs and things like that. So I have, let's do this one. A fancy close button, it's called. So I'm going to upload that. Here's our fancy close button. So what I can do is I can come over here and I'm going to create a new image. And by default, it's our old pal, the picture. And I can change the image to use a file. I can also select an external URL if you want to reference other images. And I can choose this hideous looking close button that I just uploaded. And let's say I just put it right there, for example. And what we want to do is we want to attach an action to this close button. And we say, okay, close button. When someone clicks you, I want you to hide something. What do I want you to hide? I want you to hide the embed. Okay? And you know what? Hide yourself as well. Let's do that. And what we'll do is we'll just simply do a quick opacity fade. And it'll take a second and it'll fade out and hide. Okay? Makes sense? So we can click this. We'll click the preview mode. The video's playing. The snap whips off screen. We click this. And they both fade out. Magic. So I'm aware the time is ticking away on this thing. I'm going to show you a couple more quickies. They're big ones. The main issue that people have when designing interfaces is, how does this look on different devices? Not everybody has a 4K 32-inch monitor, and so sometimes it's nice to be able to see what things are going to look like on other monitors. And so there's a whole previewing system in here where you can see how things will look, for example, on a Google Pixel 2. And you can do also things that are larger than your screen, like a 4K monitor, right? Oh no, it's too big. Well, we'll just use the handy zoom feature to zoom that back in again and see how this will all look on a 4K monitor. So this is not a picture of it. This is a fully interactive editor. It's just you're able to size it at your will. How does this look on an iPhone? Well, kind of like that. And we can shrink that down. Sure. Well, if it overlaps like this, we'll probably want to make it a little bit bigger. For example, how does it look if someone rotates it to landscape? Well, it looks like that. Actually, it looks much better, doesn't it? This gives you a bunch of flexibility to see how things will behave on different devices and change things accordingly. I mentioned that we have all percentage-based sizing in this, which comes in very, very handy. And I'm going to switch this back to responsive so we can get back to our screen again. Now, one other thing I'm going to mention, I could go on and on and on, but this thing, welcome to my snap. This doesn't make a lot of sense all the time, does it? So we are also introducing a whole other brand new feature called variables. And what that lets you do is it lets you do things like snap.name, ! Save that, go to my snaps, and I mean, you already know what's going to happen. Welcome to the bottom of the stairs. Okay, bam. And close this giant video. Let's go to the top of the stairs. Look at that. Welcome to the top of the stairs. Well, thank you. Okay, so dynamic variables, overlays, animations, layers. I mean, you name it. It's a whole new platform coming. Anyways, that's it. That gives you a bit of an idea of how powerful this thing is going to be, and we can't wait to have you guys play with it.